Hi, everybody. We're live, as you can see, and we'll be with you in a few minutes. We're just going to share a little on Facebook so people there know we're here. Now, to those people who still come to watch on Facebook, we have to give them some news that we are here. So we're going to share to the Red Berets themselves quickly. And then to a few other places.
Oh, there we go. That's what I normally do.
We'll share to Bernie Sanders progressives.
Mm-hmm.
They're always a good share.
I always share to the various different healthcare groups like Healthcare for All, Millions for Medicare. And then I share to Indivisible Tacoma community because I share to a little variety of everybody, people that I think are going to be very in tune and interested in what we're saying, and people who need to hopefully hear a little bit of what we have to say.
That sounds like a very good plan to me.
Even Medicare for All Montana, right? I have all these little coalition of states for single payer. I have a bunch of these groups that I'm part of.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah.
And let's see, one more thing. And then I'll start up here.
And then it might be, I'll go ahead and just flag this up because I was thinking this when I was sharing the YouTube link on Twitter, that we should get into the habit of trying to say, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell, and also share the YouTube link out onto whatever social media platforms you're on. It'd be really great to kind of look at the number of subscribers and see if you can personally help us raise that number up. Appreciate you very much.
Yes, that would be very good. We're going to take away the promo now and start up in earnest. Of course, I'm Joe Firestone, your host for the In-Depth Show. And my guest for tonight is the executive director of the Red Berets, Laura Fielding herself.
Hello.
With that very big and catchy smile.
Yeah, thank you. It's all the beet juice. I was just saying, I'm doing a little bit of a juice cleanse here, so I feel both. So I'm feeling pretty good, everyone. We got to do these self-care things, however they look, for you, because what I've been thinking lately is this is a lot of organizing that we're all doing. We're all working at the intersection of so many different events and issues that, we really, and we say self-care, but we really need to do it, because if we want to stay with this stuff, it's very easy to get burnt out and sick and tired. So I've been focusing on that a little more lately.
It's very easy. Hi, Sandy Degg. I see you on YouTube and I see you on Facebook. Hope that's you, Kay, on Facebook. And hi, Kay. Hey, I see you on YouTube. Hi, Dolores. You're on YouTube and Facebook too. So thank you all for coming, and please do share, like, and subscribe for us. I certainly would very much appreciate it. So, Laura,
Hello.
our topic for tonight is the General Strike Summit
Yes.
and what the Red Berets may offer to the General Strike Summit.
Yes. Thank you so much. What a really wonderful gift for you to extend to. I think what started to happen over the last day or two is just thinking. I really wanted to include people when Fred Hampton Left reached out. I was really, really, really excited for half a second, and then I was thinking, well, this has to be the Red Berets. I want to invite more people to participate in this, and then, yeah, I guess it would maybe it would be interesting to talk about why I included who I did, and there's 8. And believe me, it's like I would love to have Joe Firestone on the Red Berets,
Oh, thank
Fred
you.
Hampton Left. So that could have been a possibility, and so could it have been a possibility. Of course, Fran Bauer doesn't make appearances, but Sarah Hansen, there's just all these things roaming through my mind, like how do we make it fair, and understanding that this is one platform, and hopefully we're growing this community and this infrastructure to where there will be more possibilities, just like there was the panel discussion that Kenny Ballantyne filmed, the healthcare discussion. When I reached out to Andre Stackhouse, I think he would be okay with me. First of all, he just wanted to know, what are the parameters? What is the goal? He is very, thank you, methodical, and brings so much clarity.
He's very systematic.
He's very systematic.
And he does bring a lot of clarity. He searches
Yes, he
for
does.
clarity.
Yes, he does. And, obviously that is one of the reasons, certainly, why he occurred to me. And also, the Sabrina Salvati of the Fred Hampton Left, Sabby Sabs, when she reached out with her message of the parameters, it really clearly said, even if you're an activist working on something else at Medicare for All, as you are, the point is to come together and build community and talk about what we can do to start building community and pooling resources for a general strike. So, as she said, as long as what you're working on can be linked to the need for a general strike, that's good. And I always like to bring, let me see, no, this is very easy to say. There's been so much over this last year, and it's really incredible. And we don't want to slow any of this train down, because we need Medicare for All, and we need all of these other things. The list is long, and we're not going anywhere fast. I mean, organizers are starting to come together, but there's still a slow awakening of people coming to I'm there too, believe me. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. I'm there a lot of days where I still want to put my faith, my hope, my trust, please, somebody come do this monumental task. But as it's already been talked about on your show and so many other shows, the Progressive Caucus is not up to the task of taking on the Joe Biden administration and the corruption of both the Republican and Democratic parties. They're just not. And even the people who were willing to give them the most leeway and chance are beginning to kind of, you know, come away with this. Uh, it's just time to get busy. It's time to stop turning our eyes to them, and it's they're not
Yes,
going to come in and save us. They're not.
they're not going to come in. They did actually the wrong thing from the start,
Yes, they've been doing the wrong thing. They've been
which
doing the wrong
is,
thing.
yeah, what their idea was to work with the administration.
Yes.
And they thought if they worked with the administration,
Yeah.
they would get something significant. And I think in one way that may signify the kind of people the CPC are. In other words, for the most part, they're people with good educations who have worked hard, but who have kind of a middle class perspective on things. They like to work towards consensus. They like to work on the inside. They like to be a part of the group. And so they thought the formula for success here was, as it is in other areas, okay, of middle class life, it's to work with but the people in power. And if you work hard enough, diligently enough, and you're friendly enough, then you'll get part of what you want. And I think that is what they try to do. That is responsible for their failure.
Yeah. And if I, that is exactly my belief system and template that I used and that I've been using on Twitter organizing since I created an account. My mindset has been, if we just, look at all of the boosting and the campaigning and the retweeting and all of the work that we did for Senator Bernie Sanders, we being the Red Berets. Those
Yes,
receipts are there for anyone to go on to Twitter. They'll be there. Well, I mean, I suppose Twitter can wipe things, but in general, you can go back and look at dated tweets, and you'll find Lisa Theobald and Laura Fielding and Fran Bauer and a whole bunch of us tweeting out, chief of receipts. We still go and do it. We still go and when we find a good tweet. And, I will always credit, and they're just, my hope doesn't get killed very easily, because I also think sometimes with enough energy, when it's the right time and place, there will be a reconvening. But that's for imagining and hoping and shelving for now. That can't affect how we need to organize and how strongly we need to speak truth to power. My point is, I really thought that if I just kept tweeting for Bernie Sanders and getting retweeted by Nina Turner, I mean, the reason that I have such a following, really, I will always say, is because of how much that Nina Turner retweeted me during that primary. It was a lot. She really amplified quite a few of the Red Berets, but mine in particular, just because it's said Red Berets, that's the thing. So, and I know that was good heart and good intention and all of that stuff, but I was hoping that I could also link. And so also in all of those receipts, people can go back and look at the tweet receipts to see how much of the time I would try to link in whole Washington. I've been doing that. We, Red Berets on Twitter, have been bringing whole Washington in on those threads for years now, and hoping, because they see we mutually followed by Warren Gunnels and Nina Turner and Brianna Joy Gray, and there are they, as I say, they have lifted us up, which has been really wonderful. There have been small things Actually, at the time, I thought it was huge. Nina Turner putting on the whole Washington button.
Sure.
But at this time, and I actually think the video that she did the other night that was on Twitter, that somebody, I thought that was fantastic, the messaging. And I'm not going to get caught up in that it was California. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if it's Massachusetts. It doesn't matter if it's New Jersey. When they get something going, this idea of putting stuff through the states, and this is what I do, is I kind of go all over the place, and then I come back and make my point, is there's so much going on. There's so much going on this year that I have really, because it's simply, we say fight on all fronts, but it is impossible to be in a billion places and a billion headspaces or several at once. If you do a lot of organizing for national events and you're lifting those up on Twitter and you're using a significant amount of time doing that outreach or doing that on Twitter, it does take away from getting out these tweets about Andre Stackhouse needs whole Washington signature captains, right? And I think some people's thought process is these are two different strategies, and they are. That is really the truth of it. And I'm trying to do both strategies at once because I want to believe that we can fight on all fronts. But I do.
Well, when you look at things
Mhm.
from the point of view of an individual,
Yeah,
of yourself, of course your time, okay, is limited. You personally cannot fight, okay, on all fronts. But when you talk about the Red Berets as a network,
yeah,
there are many other people involved.
sure.
And
Absolutely, there are.
perhaps not yet quite enough to fight, okay, on all fronts.
Yeah,
But as we grow,
yes,
there may be a sufficient number of people to fight on all fronts because there are all kinds of people out there who want Medicare for all and who
yeah,
can join with us.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I guess because I named Andre as he's the first person I've named. I don't want that thread. That thread is something that I've carried with me for a very long time. The whole Washington thread, and bringing it into the national narrative always
Yes.
through Bernie Sanders' campaign, through other things. I stack it in tweets and in threads, and I would watch. Sometimes people would stay away from it. Sometimes there was a retweet by Dr. Dooley. It Sometimes they won't touch it if it comes too close to asking for an endorsement. I don't know. I mean, I can't think of. But the thing about it is, like, regardless of what we're doing, and regardless of the focus being a general strike summit and educating about that, one of the things that we're doing in Washington State through the ballot initiative is getting out, and when we go again, is getting out and building community and talking to people. One thing I've discovered so far, even since we've suspended I-1362, when I talk to people that are just kind of in my therapeutic community that come in either to see me or people I meet over in that neighborhood,
Yes.
there's just a significant number of people who understand how truly abandoned we are. So it wouldn't even shock them to say general strike. Many people would have this knowledge that, well, I can't do that. I don't have health care. I can't do that. I don't have a good union job, or whatever the case
Sure.
may be.
Sure.
But almost without fail, there is an understanding that we have no representation. Now, there are exceptions to that, and maybe I'm talking to really educated, really poor people. I don't know what, but I mean, it's just overwhelmingly the case that people understand. There's a reason why we can't have healthcare. We can't have it in Washington. We can't have it at the national level.
Yeah, because our representatives do not represent us.
Right. Yeah. No, they
That's
don't.
the reason. And they do not represent us
Yeah.
because of the money.
Yeah.
The money they take will not allow them to represent us.
Yeah. So that's one piece. I don't want, and we'll see how Andre brings that in. He might not bring that in at all. He's his own self. He doesn't need to come in with my assignments. I hope he mentions the work that he's doing, maybe some of the organizing through the states, and ties that in, because we're certainly we've been more than welcomed to bring in, what some of the endeavors that we're doing through healthcare's, just educating people. And then it really made sense to invite Lisa along. We've been working together, on this on Twitter and then in real life, for years now. And it's weird that this much time has gone by, but and then I really wanted the craftivists to be present, and I don't know. So we kind
That's
of have
very important.
yeah, I think so too. So Michelle de Villiers, she's going to be really excited to participate. She's she crafted this one, and she crafted at least one of them that I sent to you and Bonnie.
Yes, I know. I think she crafted two of them, didn't she?
She probably did. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I think so too. And I think I know which ones they were.
Yeah, she's very,
Well,
very, very, very talented. She's been crocheting since she was really young, and she's been messaging me a lot in on DMs on Twitter, just stuff that she's been researching about, uh, crafting movements in other countries, and that crafting, of course, is in the Constitution, and about craftivism and the big role in labor movements, and just historically what a big role that it's played.
has it played a role in general strikes?
Yeah, that's a really good question that I have about 24 hours to research.
Well, probably all you have to do is to
Google
go
that.
to
Yeah,
Michelle again. She probably knows the answer to that question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She might, because she's probably been looking into it a little bit more. Um, I'm just gonna hit tweet on that.
But there was certainly a craftivist role in one of the big revolutions of all time.
Say that one more time. In one of the
There was a
biggest.
craftivist role in one of the biggest revolutions of all time.
Yes, yes.
Specifically, well, of course, in the American Revolution,
Hmm.
there was a craftivist role, but in the French Revolution also, there was a very large craftivist role.
I know it's wouldn't it be really neat if we could? Yeah, she's just sent a whole bunch of things. I was hoping to. She just sends things, and then, oh my goodness, the arts and crafts movement in America, metmuseum.org. Um, yeah, the arts and crafts movement, a bridge between traditional Victorian and the modern movement. Um, yeah, we've been talking, like, prior to the strike summit. We were talking about what we could do. Yeah, how yarn bombing grew into a worldwide movement. So she links a lot of yarn bombing stuff. And anyway, the point is the imagery that came out of both the DC march and the Pelosi protest recently. A couple of those were mine in San Francisco. That was all Michelle, and they are just the imagery is very, very bold, and
Yes, it is.
really stands out. Which brings me, I caught a little bit about what you and Lisa were talking about, the importance of tags. Can you say more about that again? Because I missed the first part of what you were talking about.
Yeah, sure. It's a simple idea. Uh, John Holland actually pointed to this. He's a professor I don't know if he still teaches, okay, but he was for years psychology professor, um,
Hmm.
um, at the University of Michigan. Very, very brilliant guy. One of the best minds in complex adaptive systems. And he pointed out that as the agents self organize and form a collective of some sort, they need some tags to organize around. Sometimes, okay, it's slogans, sometimes it's symbols, okay, of certain kinds. Clearly, the red beret is a very, very powerful tag.
Yeah.
People love it when they get a red beret.
And they're exciting. They're there have been people that have thought, oh, here come the Red Berets are trying to take everything over in this thread or what. They bring a lot of excitement and enthusiasm because not, I mean, this is beautiful.
It
This is
is.
this is absolutely
It is absolutely beautiful.
stunning. And I was really proud of the one that I knit for Sharif, and because I mean, I've knit some good ones.
Oh, you have, right. In fact,
Including the one I really love, the one that you're wearing. It's quite simple, but it is nice on you. So
thank you.
yeah. It's just I say that jokingly, like, because
Thank
I
you
also say
for it.
I don't get envious of other people's arts and crafts. I always hoped that it would be the, just getting to see people with enormous talent, and just being gobsmacked by it. And that has happened many, many times over now. So, and I want to mention that Bess Godin is her on Twitter is at Malensplain. She has
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
a show on Twitter. Um, so she had reached out a couple of weeks after the marches for Medicare for All. I was taking a breather, and we were on a break in Utah, and she had me on her show to talk about the Red Berets and craftivism, and we talked a lot about quite a few things, including the whole stuff with March for Medicare for All and the real progressives and everything like that. But we really did focus a whole lot more on the loss of labor, like the fact that a craftivist and artist can't get anything close to what they're, if Michelle could charge something for these berets that sometimes we knit with things that are cheap and cheerful, sometimes we get something a little more quality. But if you turn, I mean, this is easily is worth at least $100.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
Easily, but that is not what she would charge. It's not what we charge on the whole Washington website. We gave a lot of berets like this away in San Francisco, and some people donated to the March for Medicare for All. So I guess in terms of directly linking the Red Berets and what we could, to link it to mutual aid, Bess Godin's idea, she wants to do something called Craft Strike, and it's just kind of going to be a coming together or a platforming of artists of all different mediums. Uh, and she had chosen a black rose as a symbol. We haven't really. It's all these things that we get these ideas for, and then that's going to take time. So I'm happy that she's going to come along and share about it, because you have all these people who have Etsy accounts, and they're trying to make a little bit of ends meet with their craft, and
Yes.
they can't make anything. When I think about the amount of yarn and hours that if I needed it to make money, I it's just tragic. So we do. I think one basic goodness, or one basic purpose of the Red Berets, and then this idea, Scott Denoyer, he made those black rose pins and
I know.
woodwork and brought, so the craft strike is already, that idea already has been, because we are in a group, and Beth shared the idea, we shared the idea. Scott got to work on it right away and made black roses because we thought that was very fitting for, the funeral, and the mourning of all these deaths that Nancy Pelosi co-sponsors every year. So
Yeah, it was very fitting for the Day of the Dead.
yes. So, then we had craftivism on top of craftivism, and tag on top of tag, there really is not and people, so basically what she's proposing, I think, is that there will be a website or a social media platform where any artists that want to participate, will platform their work if they have a website or an Etsy or wherever it is that they're selling their work. And then I'm just trying, she explains it better. See, so that's what she's coming on to do, is to talk about how we can start. They maybe there will be a percentage that they're going to give to a particular mutual aid, but it's a form of building up our mutual aid networks, but also just kind of bringing artists together, because look how lost it's become. And I have a friend or somebody who asked me like a long time ago, why do you spend so much time knitting these? You can just buy something. And that really is the goodness of how valuable something that someone has handmade has been
I know.
almost completely lost in our culture. And so fundamentally, when we are talking about going up against the oppressive forces of capitalism, that's what we're attempting to take on by this idea of the need to organize a general strike. So at the very foundation, as I see it, of the Red Berets in terms of the craftivism, it's just reemerging this value of labor, of a labor of love, so to speak. And
Right. Hand labor.
What's hand labor? Yes.
Labor.
Did I say that right? You said hand labor?
And you said hand labor too, and that was right.
Yes. So it doesn't matter what people are crafting. Obviously, it is a Red Berets panel, but I'm happy for this idea of craft strike, and because rightfully so, Bess points out that not everybody who maybe wants to participate does works with fiber. They're not into the fiber arts, And I think she wanted to come up with a symbol that is specific to craft strike. So that's fine, because there can be multiple things at once. The Red Beret is for Medicare for all, but it's also we're wearing Red Berets. One of our demands in a general strike is going to be for national improved Medicare for all. So,
right.
But as I see it, there's room for multiple creative ideas in this panel discussion.
Yeah, sure, and for multiple tags.
Yes.
As well, for people to organize around.
Yes. So that was that. And what else does she talk about? They're trying to think if there was anything else that Bess talked. She shared some pictures of her work in that interview, and she had a lot of really amazing things to share. Yeah, there's just got to be. It's just sad how commercialized everything's become, and we want everything convenient, and people can't afford to go get something and pay somebody for their. Oh, I know what it was. I was thinking. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what can the Red Berets, what can we bring to the marches for. And I don't know if you have to get vendor permits or anything, but if we could get the word out to a lot of Red Berets or craft strike doing black roses, whatever the different craftivism things, if we could get the word out before or as we're working through the months leading up to next year's hopefully big marches again, it would be neat to think that we could possibly have some people invite artists to come bring their tables and and share what it is that they've made. I don't know if you can even do that or if you need a permit or any of that. But Michelle and I are working on the big flag that's got all the countries. We want to work on something that's like just is a knit and crocheted, and possibly some of it will be sewn, but a big banner that we can carry.
Yes.
Something that, because coming out of the ideas of the yarn bombing and these very enormous crafted pieces or structures, we want something visually that we could hang over, like not hang too far over, but like be over a freeway overpass, or marching in the street, that it's just like the Red Berets flag, but in the craft. I've wanted to do that for some time, but you have to have I'd either have to start knitting, and she'll start crocheting the squares, and this stuff all takes time, you see, because if there were enough Red Berets to do the fighting on all fronts, some people would just be putting this amazing visual. Can you imagine if we had crafters, what they could put together in all of these cities?
Yes, I can imagine.
And, I guess, again, linking this back to, like, how do we grow this movement for a general strike? Well, we're hoping to double, triple, quadruple our numbers at the next marches. That's like, we're always working on social media, and we've already established that it's a echo chamber. We kind of hope we can maybe bring a few more people here and there. But I think as we grow these in-person movements, like, the marches, and then us going down to Vancouver here in just a little bit over a week, and obviously Occupy Pfizer is in New York, and I'm naming healthcare ones because we're a healthcare organization, but all these, when you guys did the protest in New York for
the Julian Assange protest.
Julian Assange, exactly. We just have to start. As I see it, as how do we grow the thing, is let's get our messaging out for the need for the general strike. Just start putting that out there, and people's like, this is where we're at. It's yellow vest time. It's Red Berets time. It's general strike time. That's and we can do that by getting that bold imagery out into these big events that we're doing, that hopefully we are growing them to be bigger and bigger so that we can reach more and more people. So, those are just about my, as far as how to link Red Berets to a general strike summit, those are some of my ideas and Beth Godin's ideas. And
from my point of view, I see the whole movement as a networking of smaller movements.
Yes.
Okay. And I think the movement, for Medicare for All, as big and important, as it is, isn't the whole.
Right.
Okay. It is not actually, the whole of the progressive movement. And the movement is made up of people, but it's also made up of events, activities, people doing activities to call attention to the need for a particular policy.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on, with respect to the Red Berets movement. But, look at the variety of events that are coming together now. It's getting more and more varied over time. The enthusiasm, is growing.
Yeah.
The energy is growing for the events. And now they're not only taking place in Washington, but they're taking place in many different cities, in many different states.
Yeah.
And the energy is really beginning to grow.
Yeah.
But it's not confined to Medicare for All.
Yeah, no.
But the idea, of Medicare for All, and having a movement, for Medicare for All, is different from having a movement for general strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Because a general strike is a type of event. There can be a general strike for Medicare for all.
Right.
There can be a general strike for a Green New Deal. There can be a general strike for a whole range of policies for
Mm-hmm.
just solving the problems that beset the country at this point. But a general strike is, okay, it's a type of event. And it's a type of event that can be used by many different groups in relation to policies that are different. When you start thinking of the general strike, okay, as a type of event, you immediately began to think, of other types of events,
Mm-hmm.
such as an event, to support, okay, a ballot initiative,
Right.
or such as the Vancouver event,
Mm-hmm.
that you're doing on the 19th. So when you look at the whole range of events, these are parts of the movement as well. And the events, different types of events, can range over states, over cities. It's one big complex adaptive system.
Mm-hmm.
It's one big network relating different issues, to different people. It can be looked at as one big march for justice, if I can use that, okay, as a metaphor. Different kinds of justice: climate justice, healthcare justice, by criminal justice, environmental justice. Different kinds, okay, of purposes um, are important in the larger movement. To me, the larger movement is, as actually Margaret Flowers used to frequently say this. She would say that they were looking for a movement that was a movement, okay, of movements. It was a meta movement in a way, some smaller movements. She never really got to create that, but she was always trying to create it. It seems to me we're still trying to create that sort, okay, of movement. So there's a movement that unites all of the movements on the left.
Well, that's just so interesting to hear because it seems that goal seems directly contradictory to her opinion about the movements that would make up a meta movement.
Well, people change over time, their thinking changes over time. But the idea, of having a movement, okay, of movements, I think that does actually describe the process of what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
That there's an emergence
Mm-hmm.
of different kinds of movements
Mm-hmm.
on the left that is bringing people together. And in one sense, that is part of the purpose, I think, of the FHL summit.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to bring people together,
Yes.
interested in different kinds of justice,
Mm-hmm.
to come together to begin to communicate in a more dense way,
Mm-hmm.
communicate in a more intense way. And it's these communications, these interactions among the different kinds of movements and the different kinds of events, which over a period of time can create the meta movement or the super movement that we all, okay, are looking for, that will have tremendous political force behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there is. enormous power in that, because just to take a little microcosm of, I've been mutuals with Comrade Misty Putin for a while on
I know,
Twitter,
I know.
and I think, sometimes I've imagined, like, well, because she's seen me be soft. Like, I don't want to say what she thinks, other than I wonder sometimes if she thinks, I've run fairly soft on some of these movement leaders, or politician movement leaders, specifically perhaps Nina Turner. But that's my conjecture. She has her own focus of things that she does in her own style of communicating, but listening. My point is listening. So there's a lot that I've retweeted of her uh, over the last, especially throughout the marches for Medicare for All, because Sharif connects with her really well. And so, there's been even an increase in what I look at and see and retweet of hers. But she's focused on, very much on press freedoms and Julian Assange and all of that. But listening and just taking the opportunity to listen to your show with her, it really did. I mean, I can go back and do it again. We'll have to keep drawing our attention back, but I did put some significant um, work, because I wanted to, because I felt moved to do it after listening to her show with you. So, like, that's the thing, and I might migrate back over to being very focused on what whole Washington is doing, and what is Andre Stackhouse needs more signature captains. I need to get all the I need to tap all these people on the shoulder and say, I know you're going to be a signature captain. I know you are. Let's get you in and get you onboarded, and that's fine. Or amplifying the Pfizer action, or whatever the thing is. But there is something, I think, from that show that did fundamentally shift. There's more space, and there's more space, and there's more awareness, and there was a deep sort of looking into her,
Yes.
uh, to the reality of this man and so many whistleblowers, right? I've read it on Twitter before. I've read some things. I've thought some things, but there was a deepening. And when we actually connect with people and take the time to connect, then suddenly this means a little bit more, or at least I've got more spaciousness to say, you know what? I think I can go check out her feed and see, and I'll just scroll
Yes.
through it, and what is the most meaningful thing that I think I can share. And maybe it's only going to be 2 or 3 people more who see it. But anyway, and she shared something. There was something on her timeline that I had never seen before that was just beautiful and sad. The thing about the birds, it was like a multimedia. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was. I'm not good at describing either. But anyway, the point is that I was fundamentally changed from taking that time and listening to your program with her. You know what I mean? And I deepened into the importance of that issue. And I don't think I'll ever completely let that, like, I'm slightly different now, slightly more aware of the urgency of that. I may not return to it every single day, but I think there's increased awareness and probably willingness to put it forward. So I think
There's
that's
one thing I've noticed in terms of how you work,
mhm.
and that is when you get involved with different kinds of events that different people are sponsoring,
Mhm.
and with different kinds of movements as well. The orientation you have is always to lift them all up.
Yeah.
When you lift them all up, you bring them all together. You do something to create the type of concept, okay, that Margaret was talking about. Not just Margaret, okay, Kevin
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
Kevin and Margaret both. Okay, so your style, the Red Beret style of putting these things together, is a style designed to create solidarity and to lift all the movements and then create the solidarity, not just within each of the little movements, but solidarity at the higher level. And the solidarity is manifest in the network interconnections that you are creating over a period of time. And when you get involved in the summit, in other words, when you're in the summit, you're interacting with different people and forging relationships that were not there before with the same intensity, okay, and density.
Mm-hmm.
You're making those ties tighter
Mm-hmm.
and closer, and you're forging links that contribute to the movement of movements.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's a lot of the significance, okay, of what's going on now by bringing the Red Berets in as a team, okay, of 8 people to talk about the many aspects of the Red Berets and to try to relate these aspects of the Red Berets to what the FHL people, okay, are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're contributing to the creation of a larger movement and a
Yeah.
more powerful movement.
Yeah. I sometimes when I don't think I get too in my head about it. Sometimes I do have these questions like I don't want to run over the top of their messaging or I think it was really wonderful and skillful how they um, told me it was fine to have a panel and then their person that's doing the graphic artwork. I worked with her to give her the ats of people and their said profile picture and whatever. And she created all these. And then when they were finished, Sabby Sab said, yeah, here they all are. Go ahead and make the announcements. So because obviously it is kind of true that the Red Berets could potentially come in and sort of take too much over or just be, this is our thing, coming and trying to bring some solidarity, but also bring our issue in too. But then were able to choose to kind of retweet and amplify our announcements and what they were able to pull from it to their main what they wanted to amplify, as opposed to just kind of like them launching out all these different Red Berets announcements. I don't know if that was intentional or not. That's just what it seems like what I notice.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that too. But when you go to the summit,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be talking about things like Red Berets tools and Red Berets the techniques and Red Berets knowledge, okay, of organization and how it relates to general strikes,
Yeah.
how it's helpful to
Right.
organizing general strikes because the
Mhm.
focus of the summit is on general strikes.
Right. So I shouldn't I think I get what you're saying. I don't think that I think that's a thing that I do is I worry that I'm trying to take something over when in fact I've been invited to come. I myself and some other people have been invited to come in and share, well, here's what we do and here's what we think maybe that we have of value that can link arms or help provide some support to this movement.
Right. So it's the Red Berets trying to lift up the general strike movement
Mhm.
with your knowledge of how to do things.
Yeah.
And so that's really the key here. That's really what everybody on the team, I think, should be talking about. In other words, that should be the orientation, okay, of their talks. Should be to teach and see how what they're teaching relates to building the movement for general strikes.
Mhm. Well, we haven't really had a a chance to prepare, together. So I don't know if it will come across as cohesive as we maybe would like it to be, but I certainly.
Which maybe suggests that you should speak last
Mhm.
on the panel and try to put everything together
Right.
so as to synthesize it and place it in service of the movement for general strikes.
Right. Oh, I don't know. You think I am the one in the group that has the capacity to summarize and tie everything together that's been contributed?
Well, I think there are a few people in the group who I know have that capacity. I think
Mhm.
Lisa has that capacity.
Yeah,
And I think that Andre has that capacity.
Andre definitely has that. Andre.
Okay. And I'll bet that Jason also has that
Yes.
capacity. Okay, as
Yes.
well.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and also, okay, are you going to have the other two congressional candidates there too?
No. And again, these decisions are really
Hard to
uh,
make.
they are hard to
Hard
make.
to make
And
because you had only 8 spots.
yeah, well, I didn't even have that. I had six, and I asked for seven, and then I apparently learned that I can't count, and so then I had to apologize later for taking eight, including myself. So and they're fine, and they said they were fine. But yeah, no, it was originally supposed to just be six, including me. They didn't give me that sort of like six people, but I think I put that number out there first because six seemed like a decent, and I think eight is really rather large. That's a lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
people to
it's really
contribute,
good
but we
to
could
get
have had
everything
easily eight more people. We could have easily
done.
had eight more people. I didn't invite you. I didn't invite Georgia Davenport. I didn't invite Sarah Hansen. I didn't invite the other two congressional there's really a lot. There's really really a lot.
But yeah, but you had only 8 spots.
Yes, and that is tough. So to the
So there's
answer to
no
the
need
candidate
to
question,
apologize.
what's
There's no
that?
need to apologize.
Right. No, and there's not.
You had
But I
only eight
will be
spots.
really happy to answer to the question why I selected Jason Collin. I wasn't even going to do that because, quite frankly, out of respect, the Fred Hampton lefts, they're really not lifting up a candidate strategy at all. Like the only reason, and I didn't ask permission, I'm inviting who in the Red Berets that I wanted to bring to this discussion. Um, Jason Call just went with us to the direct action to Pelosi's. It made sense to me. And he's also on the board of Whole Washington. Pretty much when people, Whole Washington is going to be a very common denominator for me. If people want to look for the meaning behind something with me, it's a lot of times it's Whole Washington. But I also felt like where there could be not only even just say from members of the Fred Hampton left, but viewers, like people that are going to be in this space where they don't want to see anything about politicians. I did think a minute or two about whether to have any candidates on this panel. And I came to the conclusion that because of Jason's recent involvement in the Pelosi protest, he spoke at the marches for Medicare for All when even people on his campaign advised him not to. Because he is on the board of Whole Washington and came out in Kenny Ballantyne's documentary interview saying everything about why we need a multi-pronged approach in wonderful words. For those reasons, I wanted to bring him on and yes, and help lift a candidate and hopefully maybe potentially I wanted people who are very, very, very skeptical, and I'm in that camp too. So many of us are, but I did want people to see, you know, we don't necessarily have to give up completely on electoralism. There are candidates out there who are willing to go do these steps with us. If they are, you don't have to go knock on doors for them, but
Yeah, but
they're
also there's another thing here involved
Mhm.
too. You have to be careful how you define the concept, okay, of electoralism.
Yeah,
In other words, there may be things you do with respect to elections that don't really involve any individual candidates at all, and that don't involve really parties, okay, at all.
right.
They're more about the tool of elections and why that tool isn't really working for us.
Yeah.
And so, what we might want to do to actually disrupt that tool, disrupting that tool is much more like a general strike. It's like a general strike, but with respect to elections.
Hmm.
You're not electing any particular candidate. You're not electing any particular political party. You're not focusing on any particular issues. All you're doing is disrupting the process that is not working for us.
Hmm.
I don't think that's electoralism.
Yeah. I've gone quiet for a minute because I was just reflecting about.
Yes, in other words, it's more like a general strike, okay? Because a
Mhm.
general strike is like disrupting the economy. That's what a general strike is
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
and making the people who are running the economy hurt because of the general strike.
Hmm.
Okay, that's what that exertion of power, okay, is about. In the area, okay, of elections, you can do certain protests as well, which are about disrupting that part of the control system. Okay, because elections until now have been part of the control system. The economy until now, okay, is part of the control system. But you don't use the same tool in order to disrupt the elections that you use, in order to disrupt the economy.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but to get back to Fred Hampton, uh, okay, so is it clarifying to talk about how to relate to general strikes? Have we clarified anything here in this conversation?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Um, I guess the question that something that you were saying just now was my question is always like if we have an opportunity to tell people let's use the next big gathering that we hope to bring a lot of people out, and of course we need to talk about how we can get out on the picket lines like Lisa was saying, how we need to go to them, not so the ideology needs to, and I'm starting to talk to small business people, just open up a little bit more to tell them about the ballot initiative and all this, but to talk about like big messaging, I'll just use next year when we're doing marches again, because we can talk to quite a few. Don't know why that's happening. I apologize. Um, I, I'm just, I'm always curious, like how we can get out so many messages. Because, we want people to know about MMT and we want people to know about the organizing for a general strike. It would be ideal if there is let's say another general strike summit, if there needs to be more preparation and planning, or if there's going to be, let's try this for a day or 2 days. Like, let's say that this whole summit happens, and then there's some infrastructure and some organizing that starts to come into place, and then it would be ideal if the marches, for example, could springboard a particular date or action,
Yes,
where
yes,
we can tell everybody that hopefully the numbers that are out are there. There'll be at least as many. Hopefully there will be double or triple or whatever, right? Well, we will be much
sure,
more effective getting people out. So that's a sizable, I mean, it's something, right? And it would be
it
great
is.
if we could ask, the marches, or if just everybody, if Fred Hampton Left gets people to the marches, not necessarily the marches messaging, but it would be neat if in every single city where there's marches, there's a member of, or there's somebody that's organizing with the Fred Hampton Left for a general strike, and they get to come
Yes,
up and
yes,
speak. We
yes,
are organizing a general strike because we need Medicare for all, and that's a thread that goes all throughout the whole, all 56. Now it'll be 150 or however many marches that can happen next year. That would be a neat idea if Fred Hampton Left was building up, communities, like, because I know they're going to be doing some educating. I saw one of their posts was like, on Saturday. I think it's on Saturday. I don't have the time memorized, but they're going to be doing some educating about the Black Panther Party and the mutual aid networks that they built up and all of that. So
oh, that's
um,
really very important.
yes,
Very
yes,
necessary to educate about that because that was formidable.
yes.
It was really formidable.
So if there's starting to be people that are, I just think, yeah, this is going to be really powerful, because undoubtedly there will be people that can come out and speak to, um, for example, just again, stick to what I know, which is my own state. I could easily see suggesting to Andre Stackhouse that one of the members of, in leadership of the Washington State Black Panther Party gets to come out and have a speaking spot to share that intersection between the need for mutual aid or a general strike and Medicare for all. Like, so maybe I don't need to worry so much about it. That's going to be a byproduct. That's going to be a creative and a byproduct of all of us coming together and in this kind of a forum where we bring all these issues together. Like you say, I think seems like there's going to be enormous power in this.
Yes, I think so too. But the power and the success of it over time is going to depend on the reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's going to depend on the mutual support of one movement. Okay, for others.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the beauty of the movement of movements, but it's also going to be the difficult part. Okay, the movement of movements. Once you start creating those ties, you have to intensify them, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to make them dense. That means you have to care about each other's projects.
Yes. And then it
It
becomes
can't be only one way.
well, it's already happening, right? It's like, we want to be in all these places at once, and never mind places. I know now now on Monday, for example, just kind of in our little organizing world, on Monday there will be all that sort of material and connecting and enthusiasm and everything that's come out of stuff that will require some unpacking and further process from, let's hope, that is the hope, right? That it's going to be a very rich uh, learning experience. That'll still be sort of coming off of the weekend, but Monday morning is the
Yes,
Pfizer
I see.
option.
Yes, I
And so
know.
we've got emails coming in from Sharif and Twitter DM groups talking about when are we going to do this Twitter boost, and so that we can maybe help that trend. So what can all of us that are national do to lift that up? Meanwhile, at 2:00 uh, Pacific Standard Time, Kenny Ballantyne's coming on Knit the Revolution. Like we are getting very, very booked up with just our things. So,
Yes, we are starting to be all booked up.
so hopefully, what we're able to
One of
convey
the
to people
people,
is, sorry, go ahead.
I'm one of the people who will be doing the commentary on the Pfizer thing, okay, on Monday morning.
Awesome, great.
Okay, I don't even know who the second person, okay, is going to be, but I know I'm supposed to be there doing that.
So you're going to be it's going to be live streamed, and you'll be, how is that going to work again? Because you'll be
Okay,
online,
it's going to be live streamed by KRTD Media,
right?
and I'm going to be doing the commentary for
Hmm.
KRTD Media. At
Well,
least I
that's really,
have the people who'll be doing the commentary for it.
oh, that's really exciting. And of course, Monday is now a morning that I work. I added a work day to my schedule, so there's just really between my schedule, there's a lot of stuff that I have to miss. But of
All
course,
right,
we'll.
but I don't think you'll be working at the time of the Pfizer protest because it's from 8:30 to I think 10:30 in the morning.
Um,
It's a 2-hour protest. That's Eastern time.
right. Yeah, I'll probably still be asleep.
I've noticed you get up kind of early to tweet.
If I
Actually,
go back to sleep sometimes, that's if I can't sleep. No, I do get up. I do sometimes wake up early to tweet. Twitter is just, oh my goodness. That's really just something, isn't it?
it is something. Yes.
But yeah, thank you. That does help because I want to be able to catch, and that means that I will just get to sleep early, set my alarm, and be ready to tweet storm and amplify your commentary and any other tweets that I see coming out of there. That, I sit and feel sort of guilty, or like, oh, it's a huge. The beautiful thing, I do love these big events on Twitter. It is one, there's a lot of hassle and a lot of negativity and a lot of stuff to do with people not agreeing, and even me just rubbing people the wrong way. Sometimes I get abrasive, and I understand that. But the thing that I do love the most about Twitter, there can really be this big sense of camaraderie and enthusiasm, and I really do love these big events. You can see that that is the theme. It's a big energy, and I loved amplifying every single thing of the March for Medicare for All, and seeing all of the other little March for Medicare for All chapters. I like, even on People's Party, I love being followed or following different People's Party, and just as another example of things. And then this Fred Hampton Left Summit, I'm just loving. I really love to amplify these big things that create a lot of energy. So, maybe I should just say that. I'll just say thank you, Fred
Maybe
Hampton
you
Left.
just say that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, this is what I truly, out of all the things that are negative about Twitter, one of the things that I love the most, I get very energized. I feel hopeful. I feel excited. I love to retweet and amplify these events, and it's been a real joy. And I love imagery, so these graphics are so fun. I found them fun with March for Medicare for All. I love the ones that Fran does. I love it when I see Scott tweet out new pictures of his different variations.
So do I. Yeah.
That the imagery is definitely one of the things that I find really that I do get joyful about. So Twitter, I sit and make fun of it. Well, I've spent a lot of time on there, but I do really like to amplify other people and other people's efforts. So
Yes, and when you put together tweets the way only you can put together tweets, that's a form of craftivism.
that's true. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It really is. I've been learning a lot from you over a period of time.
Well, I guess some things just come innately, don't they, for us? I don't find it as easy to craft my. That is interesting. I do find it quite easy to craft my words in a tweet because it's succinct and I only get a certain amount and I find what I really want to say. But doing this and having a conversation and being succinct and clear and eloquent verbally is not quite always. Sometimes I have my moments where something just really comes across, but other times it's not nearly. I'm very circuitous and kind of all over the place, and that's okay. That's who I am as a communicator. But I think people probably might find that contrast interesting of how I communicate verbally versus how my tweets come across.
Yeah, they might find that interesting. Your thought process is very nonlinear. We like to say, whereas some people like me, it's like logic, logic,
Yeah.
logic, logic. It's just very linear.
Yeah.
I think the creativity comes in through the nonlinearity. Actually,
Yeah.
it's a very important thing.
Yeah, no, I think, I didn't know how to answer it. There was one question that Andre Stackhouse asked me when on the Medicare for All panel discussion that I thought it was such a good question and it probably has a really good answer, but I didn't know how to answer it, even though it's me doing it. You could have been there and given this wonderful answer probably, but he asked something like, do you want to tell us more about how, because Laura, you with the Red Berets, you've really been working on this. How do we build? How can we connect these worlds of real world organizing and building movements on social media? And that is something that you are doing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you organize on Twitter, or how you, I don't know how he asked it. It was just a good question and it probably has a really simple answer, but I felt like I missed my moment of being able to say something as a good response. I don't know. I do think there is a lot that we do on Twitter and it's intuitive. Lisa says that I'm a good marketer. I'm good at marketing. I don't know. I'm just do what I do. I don't know what it is.
Right, but what you do on Twitter, quite a lot, okay, of what you do is to constantly lift up
Yeah.
people, someone, some group,
Yeah.
some movement, some idea.
Mm-hmm.
That motivates people. And it motivates people to get involved in the real world organizing.
Yeah.
It fires people up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the by now old saying, and I hate to say this because of the association with a particular person, but when you're fired up, you're ready to go. And when you're ready to go, you get out on the streets
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
do it. And maybe that's the connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, but I really want to get. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, would you like to take a look at some of the questions now, or was there some a final summation that you wanted to go through before we got to the question?
Just that I'm really want to express gratitude to everyone who's joining the panel, and I think I've mentioned everyone who's joining, and I think I've done tweet things saying everyone who I would wish that I could invite if I could just have a big. Can we have half a day for the Red Berets? That's so greedy. No, I'm super. Yeah, and if anyone from the Fred Hampton left watches this, I'm just feel really, really, really honored and really thankful that they were fine with me opening it up to a panel, because I didn't want to just go and speak on behalf of the Red Berets, because we are really trying to. Yes, there was a lot in the beginning of me trying to kind of put the messaging out there, and now we're letting it go and letting the everyone find their own strands, and And so I'm anyway, I'm appreciative of everyone, and I'm pretty sure that the panel is not the end of the world. There's going to be some good um, nuggets, some good moments that come out of our panel, even if it is not as organized. I hope that everyone gets. It'll be 2 hours. There, and the other thing is that Sabrina and possibly another person, but Sabrina for sure, Sabby Sabs will be moderating. So it's also not like I get to say now you talk about that. No, she'll have her own questions that she's going to be asking. What about this? It could go, and just be. It will be what it will be, and that's and they're all everyone who's joining. I just feel like we're really beginning to grow a really amazing movement here. So how could anything be wrong with what we're going to contribute? I think it'll just be great.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the comments. I think there are a lot of comments that might be relevant for you. Okay, very interesting. I'm not going to read them all out, but I am going to look for the ones that seem to be particularly important. Of course, we want to say hi to Fran, okay, and to Anna as well.
Hello.
And to Carmen and Sandy and Kay, of course, and
Hello.
Holly Horn. Okay, and Lana, of course. I think Lana's here.
Hi, Lana.
And let's see. And somebody called that transit guy who has been here only once before. Okay, let me get to some more substantive things. Steve Gunza says they decided to allow Julian to get married one day before the lawsuit deadline. That's interesting. Holly says Julian is rotting in Belmarsh. Yes, he is. Okay, so Michelle de Villiers has joined us. Okay, at 9:53.
Mm-hmm.
And she had some things to say. One most important thing she had to say was, I have many ideas.
Yes.
Need to talk ahead of time, if possible.
Yes, that can be possible, Michelle.
I think partly why it can be possible is that it's only 7:30 your time.
Yeah.
Or roughly 7:30 your time.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle says to Laura, yes, I understood that, Michelle. I didn't think you were talking about talking to me. And Carmen says, hi, Bonnie. Hear you in the background. Makes me smile. Says Carmen. And let's see. Okay, Lisa says we have corporate agency, not representation. Sandy says there's a documentary on Netflix about the Panthers, I believe. Fran Bauer says if we didn't have Twitter, we never would have met. And she has a whole bunch of exclamation points about that. So thumbs up for Twitter. And KRTD Media said, hey, Joe, we just got a new member of KRTD. It's Jimmy Sunderland, by the way, Shane, not Jimmy Summerland. Anyway, Jimmy Sunderland is a wonderful graphic design, video editing talent.
Oh, can I pause right there?
Sure.
Can we have a conversation about I don't know how much money we could cough up. But I came up with this really neat idea for Knit the Revolution. And so I had somebody that I was going to reach out to. But if KRTD Media has someone that's joined, then maybe the person, what is his name who just joined? You just said it.
It's actually Jimmy Sunderland, and she is a she.
Oh, she is a she. Hi, Jimmy.
She is a she.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Well,
I don't know if she's here now,
right. But just
but she is definitely a she.
okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
Shane
anyway, so
says, and Stephen Hale wants to meet with you and I at 9 p.m. on Sunday about doing a show for KRTD Media. Okay, 9 p.m. on Sunday works for me. I think it's probably 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in the morning for Stephen Hale. And it would be wonderful to do a show, to have Stephen doing a show on KRTD Media because he is really brilliant. And Ghost Start says, at K Ryan, you have to search a specific title, get past the Netflix minutia. Sandy Degg says, I know Jimmy from RP. Yes, I knew Jimmy from RP too. And Sandy says, she's fabulous. I said, Jimmy's a great talent. And Shane says, that's Jackie. He is the head moderator at KRTD. And Lana says, I've been listening to you while working. Hello. And Shane says, thanks for setting me up with Jimmy, Lana. Oh, also for your information, Shane, I think Jimmy is a good friend, okay, of Amber as well. So there's a connection there that you should know about. And Shane says, and thanks for the idea about Stephen Hale. Okay. Lana says, hi, Sandy, Kay, Lisa, Holly, Shane, Jackie. Sorry if I missed anyone. It's a her. Sandy says, Stephen is wonderful too. Shane says, she is watching. She told me we got off our call not too long ago. Lana says, Stephen Hale is brilliant and way too humble. And Dolores says, we all love Jimmy Sunderland.
sounds like
KRTD said I was referring to the transit guy when I say Jackie. Oh, Jackie is TTG. I gave him the nickname TTG on here earlier tonight. But I'll stick to Jackie from now on. And Lana Dell says, hi, Steve. I forgot Steve. And KRTD Media says, she told me. So we have come to the end of the comments. We'll probably get a few more before we're done. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask?
Oh, no, I was just going to say congratulations to KRTD Media. It sounds like they are on the move. We are on the move.
We are on the move, yes.
So.
And Shane says, autocorrect spelled Summerlin spelled instead of Sunderland. Okay, that's good.
Well, I guess I also want to, I do want to just say, would love that your audience is so lovely and supportive. They have already been sharing Knit the Revolution in solidarity as well. So, but it will be a really exciting episode, and then you'll be joining us the following week, which we're really excited about. So
good. I'm excited about joining you the following week.
Yeah. So there we go. And Kenny's off on some kind of busyness right now, but he's apparently joining us on Monday. So it seems like Monday's going to be a busy day with Pfizer and everything else. But I mean, it's busy. We're knitting the revolution. We're organizing the revolution. we need a lot more. We need a lot more of us, but I do feel what you're talking about, Joe, that the energy is starting to lift, starting to
The
move.
idea of when you knit by the revolution, the knitting is creating a network
Mhm.
because the stitching forms a network.
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of an analog
Yeah.
to the social network that actually creates a revolution.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be forgetting that.
No.
Uh, 5 people left to vote, so no matter how they vote, we'll be sponsoring it. What's this?
Oh, sponsoring Pfizer.
Yeah, sponsoring Pfizer, Shane says. And the vote is pretty much in.
The die-in outside of Pfizer, not just for clarity, in case anyone was. We're not sponsoring Pfizer, but the Pfizer protest.
13 people voted yes to endorse the Occupy Pfizer protest.
Mm-hmm.
5 people left to vote, so no matter how they vote, we will be sponsoring it. So we
Cool.
have 13 yes votes and 0 no votes, Shane. Is that what it is? I'd say the chances are pretty good that this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be at least a 15-3 vote or a 16-2 vote or something like that. Shane says maybe 6 people left, and good luck on the panel. Well, of course, I also wish you very good luck on the panel, but I don't think you're going to need that luck. I really don't. I think it's just going to go great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a
And
lot.
Case says, you guys are all great. And Shane says, yes. Uh, okay, so get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Will do. Thank you, Joe.
And try to contain your excitement. And Michelle de Villiers asks, what is the vote about? Oh, the vote was an internal vote, okay, of KRTD Media. And the question was, the thing we held the vote about was whether to sponsor the Pfizer protest on Monday. And the vote of KRTD was to sponsor it. It's not complete, but obviously we have 13 people who said yes and nobody who said no. So the outcome is pretty well determined, okay, at this
Mm,
point. So
good.
it was a successful vote, I think. And Dolores says, good night, everyone. And Michelle de Villiers says, but yes.
I'll call you if it's yes, making arrangements. I'll message you, Michelle, and we'll get our time set up, okay? For talking a bit more. All right. Well, thank you very much, Joe.
Okay, and thank you, Laura, for coming on. And thank you, everybody, for coming on. And thank you for all the sharing.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thank you for all of the supportive comments. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Uh, and Sukuru is here and says, oh, first Sandy Deg said, what does one do at a die-in? At a die-in, one pretends to die.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
the die-in was pioneered by the Extinction Rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And Skurafor says, thanks so much for sponsoring the Occupy Pfizer action. I think I can safely say, but you're very welcome, Sukuru. And Michelle de Villiers says, great. And Lana says, good night.
Good
Sandy
night.
says, that's cool. Okay, so good night, everyone.
Good night.